This is Born Strategist, and in this video, I'm going to be asking, as well as answering, the following question. Why isn't Mass Effect more popular? Now, when I talk about Mass Effect, I'm talking about the franchise overall. And the thing is, to me, is when I look at this franchise, I'm going, this is what we should see more of within this industry because it is an excellent representation of video games and should essentially become a video game movie somewhere later on down the line. And I know that they're working on that, so we'll see how that turns out if it ever comes to fruition. But when I look at the Mass Effect franchise, I see a interesting story and compelling characters. I see a fine-tuned, polished product. Maybe some of the earlier iterations struggled a bit, but for the most part, everything else has been done perfectly. I mean, if you want an excellent story in a video game, then go no further than BioWare and their products, because Mass Effect is one of those games that actually eradicates the stigma of video games having terrible stories. And when I look at this franchise, I'm going, overall, this is probably one of the best franchises, if not the best franchise ever in gaming as far as their narrative is concerned. Scratch that. Mass Effect, the whole trilogy as a whole, the original trilogy is undeniably the best video game story ever made. And I love the franchise for that reason. Okay, and I'm being objective here. I could look at all these different franchises that have come and gone, such as, maybe like, some of the Nathan Drake games, or maybe something like, The Last of Us, and I could objectively say that Mass Effect blew them out of the water. Not to say those games didn't have their own, interesting storylines or compelling characters, but when it comes to consistency and memorable characters and an interesting story, Mass Effect blows them out of the water. Now, the initial question was, why isn't Mass Effect more popular? Now, the reason why that is because Mass Effect is an RPG. And just in case you don't know too much about the video game industry, RPGs don't sell as well as action-oriented titles such as Call of Duty or Battlefield. And for that very reason, they don't make as much money and they're not regarded as being the most popular games within their genre. But just because you're not as popular as another franchise doesn't mean you're not as good, if not better, than those games. Now, the reason why I say that is because, just in case you don't know, popularity is not an accurate determination of how good something actually is or how bad something actually is. It's basically just letting you know that, hey, you know what, this appeals to more people, and for that very reason, it's going to make more money. And that's unfortunate because when I look at Mass Effect, I see a franchise that has a lot of potential. And with all the rumors surrounding BioWare's new IP going into this very action-oriented route, I could definitely see it being a similar version to Mass Effect, but getting rid of all of the story elements or, the compelling characters and instead focusing primarily on action more so than anything else. Well, trying to maintain some semblance of some of their previous games, such as Dragon Age or Mass Effect. And the thing is that I'm very appreciative of that, but to be honest with you, if you're trying to cater to an action-oriented audience to improve upon your sales, I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of diluting your previous products because Mass Effect, especially in the later iterations like Mass Effect 2 and 3, really improved upon their action, and they were a well-rounded bundle of great games that managed to include characters, story, and a lot of action. But now, you're trying to cater to an audience that has a very short attention span, that doesn't care about, an interesting story or compelling characters, and they're just interested in shooting a bunch of slimy shit. And that's it. And that's okay if you like those types of games, but at the same time, as a person who actually appreciates the compelling aspect of the Mass Effect games, I really do want to see more of that. But let's be realistic, you're trying to cater to the population of people that don't care about stories or characters and are more interested in just blowing shit up. And for that very reason, Mass Effect, the whole franchise as a whole, isn't as popular as something like a Call of Duty franchise or a Battlefield franchise because it doesn't cater to a short attention span. It's not an action-oriented game that just keeps your heart pounding. There's slow, subtle moments, or there are, very compelling moments, or there's, romantic relationships between characters. So for that very reason, you're not going to see Mass Effect at the top of any sales charts because it doesn't appeal to a stereotypical short attention span that you commonly find playing a Call of Duty game. And look, I'm not trying to pick on anyone, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, I'm just pointing out the obvious. And the thing is that when you look at games like Call of Duty, who are consistently at the top of the leaderboards and that produce, pretty high quality titles, you look at their games, they're all action. All action. You're not going to find something like you would in Mass Effect. You're not going to find a deep-rooted storyline that people actually are invested in. You're not going to find very interesting or funny characters. You're just going to find generic military action. And that's not good enough for me because I look at Mass Effect, I look at a franchise that has improved upon its base with every new iteration and has done everything damn near perfect. And when I look at a franchise that should and could be, I see Mass Effect. And if they can improve upon that formula and actually incorporate cooperative play into their campaigns, that would be awesome. Granted, I understand how difficult that would be considering all the things that you have to do in those games. But nonetheless, it would be awesome if they can do that. And another game that comes to mind when I think about story or decisions or customization or the RPG aspects is Fallout 4. And Mass Effect 3 and Fallout 4 to this day are my two favorite shooters of all time. Those campaigns and the characters and the customization and the weapons and all that stuff, it just makes for an excellent game. And for people that don't care about that sort of stuff and just like shy away from that stuff or don't really give games like that a chance, I'm going do it because you need to give this game an opportunity to win you over because trust me, it will because they're that good. But the thing is, like I said before, when you look at games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, they're catering to a short attention span who doesn't really care about stories or characters or plot points or anything like that. They're more interested in getting to the point and shooting a bunch of shit, which is fine. Trust me. Sometimes I'm just getting tired of playing like a survival horror game or maybe like a fighting game or like a racing game, and I just want something different. I want something that's fast paced and keeps me in the action. I mean, that's something that Call of Duty is always good for. But sometimes you get tired of it and that formula just isn't enough to keep you invested. And that's where I'm at with those particular franchises right now, specifically Call of Duty and Battlefield. Not that either one of them are bad games, but sometimes you get tired of that formula and you want something more. And when I look at Mass Effect or Fallout 4, they give you more. As a matter of fact, when I look at those games, specifically Mass Effect 3 and Fallout 4, I see two great games that gave me a lot of value for my dollar. And very seldom does that actually happen within the gaming industry. So many times have I seen a game that's priced at $60 but yet only has a 6-hour campaign. And that pisses me off because you are getting screwed. Grant, those games do drop pretty quickly in price, meaning that within 3 months you can probably get the game for around $30 or $20, which is good, but at the initial time of release, I don't believe that those games should be $60. But nonetheless, it's not up to me, and they'll charge you whatever the hell they damn well please. With that said, what's your thoughts? What's your opinions? What do you believe? I'm interested to know. Let me know below. Until next time, thanks for watching. And for more Jector reviews, strategy guides, commentaries, and more, stay tuned to this channel, and feel free to check out my own personal channel over at youtube.com/bornstrategist.